He wandered alone, abandoned, with sadness surrounding every step. But on that day, the greatest surprise of his life unfolded.
Thor seems to glide along the sidewalks, dodging noises, cars, and hurried people. He tries to approach some familiar places, like the corner cafe that always leaves a bit of bread for the birds, or the park, where children once blew soap bubbles. But no matter how much he tries, no one seems to look at him with love. Only fleeting glances and, sometimes, a hand shooing him away. Thor walked the streets with an old, worn-out collar swaying around his neck at every step. On that faded tag, tangled among his fur, the name Thor was still engraved, a small trace of the past, a distant echo of a home he had lost. Thor's gaze carried that memory, a silent flame of hope still fighting not to go out. Not far away, a small beige kitten curled up inside an old box, trembling from the cold of the settling night. She was fragile, but her big eyes carried immense sweetness. The little kitten had no name, only fear and abandonment. As he wandered aimlessly, Thor stumbled upon something. It was the box, and the kitten, with her big, soft eyes. But her gaze was as lost and frightened as his own. Thor cautiously approached, and instead of running away, she let out a tiny, hopeful meow. At that moment, a miracle happened. An unexpected friendship was born, a connection that could warm any lonely heart in the midst of the city's solitude. However, life on the streets was not kind. The cold pressed harder, hunger gnawed at their stomachs, and dangers seemed to lurk around every corner, surrounding the little survivors. With every challenge, Thor and the sweet kitten shared trust and strength, learning to protect each other, turning sadness into courage. Little by little, they began to notice the presence of a couple who lived nearby, and had the habit of observing the neighborhood's animals after returning from work. Mariana and Lucas noticed the duo and made a decision. They started leaving food near the box where the kitten took shelter and fresh water for Thor, hoping to gain the trust of those two fragile little beings. Thor remained still for a moment, his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths, while his brown eyes fixed on Mariana and Lucas. There was a shine in his gaze, a mix of fear and a silent desire to believe again. For the first time in a long while, his tired heart seemed to beat differently, as if sensing that something great was about to happen. Destiny was about to cross their paths. That little caramel dog and his adorable tiny friend had no idea what those two people were about to do for them. Something that would forever change the course of their lives. One day, the couple who had been watching from a distance decided to act. With a soft voice, Mariana approached and called the little kitten Luna, inspired by the gentle light of the full moon that illuminated those dark streets. She placed a soft blanket inside the box to protect her from the cold, while Lucas arrived with a bit of food and fresh water. Mariana's eyes sparkled as she spoke to Luna. "Now you have a name, a safe place and hope." Luna blinked slowly, as if understanding every word, and beside her, Thor watched cautiously, sensing the closeness of the couple who carried with them an unfamiliar warmth. The bond between Thor and Luna became inseparable. On freezing nights, Luna nestled into Thor's warm body, and he, with a protective paw resting on her, showed that even in the hardships of street life, they could find comfort in one another. They shared every small victory, a can of food split between them, a tiny spot sheltered from the rain, and silent glances of trust exchanged in moments of vulnerability. Danger lingered at every turn. Hunger struck like a sharp pain, cars sped by threatening their lives, and the fear of strangers tightened their little hearts. Yet Thor and Luna kept their hope alive, protected by the love blossoming between them, and nurtured by the attentive presence of Mariana and Lucas. The mornings in the city were still cold when Mariana and Lucas decided to get even closer to the small duo. With care and patience, They began leaving fresh food and clean water in the same places, creating a routine for Thor and Luna. The couple's constant presence slowly transformed suspicion into curiosity. Thor, with his cautious steps, approached first, sniffing the food hesitantly. Luna, more timid and reserved, watched from a distance, guarded by the survival instinct they both shared. Little by little, hunger became stronger than fear. They began eating together, side by side, turning their bond with Mariana and Lucas into a safe and comfortable relationship. During those moments, Mariana and Lucas spoke lovingly to the animals, calling their names, telling stories, and being careful not to scare them. Words filled with affection and hope floated in the air, and little by little, Thor and Luna could feel that love growing inside them. On an open, blue sky afternoon, Mariana slowly extended her hand toward Luna, who, after a long pause, took a delicate step forward and touched the palm of her new friend's hand. Thor gently observed everything up close. This simple gesture marked the true beginning of trust between them. Finally, they decided it was time to do more than just watch. They wanted to bring Thor and Luna to a place where they could be safe and loved. With calmness and patience, they managed to earn both animals' trust. By offering food and kind words, they built a bond that shattered fear and made room for affection. Thor's gaze toward Mariana revealed a mixture of acceptance and a deep longing to believe again. Luna, right beside him, fixed her big, serene eyes on Lucas, capturing something that once seemed lost, the hope of a home. With their trust slowly gained, Lucas prepared a transport box to safely capture Luna, ensuring she would be rescued without fear or trauma. Thor, however, still resisted being touched. He seemed to hold on to a fragment of fear that only those who have lived on the streets can truly understand. They decided then to take their time, bringing Luna home first, and continuing to win Thor's heart with patience and love. At home, Luna discovered comfort in every corner. The soft bed, the warm food, the affection of her humans. She slept curled up, safe for the very first time in her life. Mariana and Lucas showed her that she now had a home, and that she would never be abandoned again. Meanwhile, back on the streets, Thor wandered restlessly. He missed Luna and the new warmth that only a friendly touch could bring. But his resistance quickly began to fade. Left alone again 2 days later, he finally accepted the small gestures the couple offered him with quiet trust. On that sunny morning, when Thor saw Mariana and Lucas approaching, he finally allowed them to come closer. With joyful eyes and a slight wag of his tail, he followed them to the car that would take him to what they called a new beginning, the path to a new life, guided by human hands that welcomed them with love and care. The journey home was silent, filled with expectations. There, Thor and Luna, now together in the same space, began a new chapter. The fear of abandonment gave way to the restlessness of discovery, and little by little, with each gesture, joy began to bloom. In the following days, Mariana and Lucas showed Thor that the world could be a safe place, where a collar did not mean imprisonment but protection. The story of the caramel-colored dog and the little beige kitten took a new turn, and life began to gain color. The home Thor and Luna had longed for was perfect, like a dream after months of uncertainty on the streets. The scent of home was different, cozy, but the traces of life on the sidewalk still reflected in the cautious looks of the two animals. Thor, with his strong presence and intense gaze, still carried silent doubts, while Luna, with her sweet demeanor, tried to adapt to affection and comfort without losing her air of vulnerability. The first days were a mixture of discoveries and discomforts. Thor jumped at the slightest sound, always alert, while Luna hid behind the furniture, insecure about the strange sounds and smells. Mariana and Lucas were determined to show that the place was safe, but they soon realized the path to full trust would be harder and longer than they had imagined. Then, one night, something unexpected happened. A strange noise from the street woke Luna, who let out a loud, insistent meow. Thor jumped up, agitated, barking nervously. Mariana and Lucas ran to the door only to discover that a group of stray dogs had invaded the yard, threatening their home and the safety of the neighborhood. The situation tested everything: Thor's courage, the couple's unity, and even Luna's strength, who, though small, did not hesitate to stay alert. This event made everything tense. As the dogs rushed wildly toward the little kitten, Thor quickly placed himself in front of Luna, growling and barking fiercely against the intruders, protecting his friend and his owners, showing himself and everyone else the strength he carried within. Mariana screamed desperately, while her husband tried to push the danger away with the help of neighbors who came to assist in the middle of the confusion. That moment showed that his terrible past had not stolen Thor's strength and bravery. In the following weeks, this experience brought the four of them even closer. Thor and Luna understood that this was their true home, and that even on difficult days, they were no longer alone. Mariana and Lucas reinforced their care, making sure to show that love overcomes fear, and that together, they could overcome any challenge. The story took an even more emotional turn when unexpected news forever changed the lives of everyone in that home. During a veterinary examination, a surprising revelation came to all. Luna was pregnant. Despite her fragile appearance and a past marked by hardship, the little kitten now carried within her the perfect symbol of hope and new beginnings. The arrival of the kittens represented not only new life, but also a quiet redemption, capable of strengthening even more the bonds that united Thor, Luna, Mariana, and Lucas. With this discovery, a whirlwind of emotions invaded the home. Thor, by her side, seemed to understand the responsibility that was born along with the news. His eyes, once marked by fear, now reflected protection and courage. Mariana and Lucas moved, saw in Luna's belly not only the kittens, but also the confirmation that the love they had chosen to give was blossoming into something far greater than they could ever have imagined. Time would bring challenges, doubts, and lessons, but at that moment the house was filled with a new feeling, the certainty that, even coming from abandonment and pain, Thor and Luna were destined to live a story of love, resilience, and second chances. The sun slowly rose on the horizon, illuminating the house where Thor, Luna, Mariana, and Lucas now shared their lives. The news of Luna's pregnancy brought new light to that home, a spark of hope that seemed to spread through every corner. Thor's transformation was visible. From a fearful and distrustful dog, he had become a calm and loving guardian, beside the cat who now carried the future in her womb. Luna, surrounded by care and affection, felt comfortable in every gesture of her rescuers. Mariana carefully prepared the little corner for the kittens, while Lucas made sure nothing was missing, closely following every veterinary appointment. Life pulsed strongly in that house, where love overcame every shadow of the past. Then, on a silent night, the unexpected happened. Luna went into labor. The heart of the house seemed to beat in the same rhythm as her contractions. Between sighs, anxiety, and a thread of hope, the hours dragged by full of emotion, until finally the first kittens were born. Tiny, fragile lives wrapped in warmth and affection, symbolizing rebirth and new beginnings. Thor stayed by Luna's side the entire time, his gaze serene and protective. His eyes, once marked by abandonment, now shone with the courage of a true guardian. As if he understood each moment, he remained close, watching over the new family that was forming. The scene inside the house was pure tenderness. Luna nursed her two kittens. Thor rested beside her, calm and vigilant, while Mariana and Lucas embraced, moved, letting tears and smiles mix on their faces. It was impossible not to feel the intensity of that moment. Every breath, every look, every gesture seemed to whisper the same meaning. Life always finds a way to bloom. At that instant, everything gained new meaning. Thor and Luna were no longer just two rescued animals. They became living symbols of resilience, proof that love can transform wounds into scars of victory. The unlikely friendship that united them, the home that welcomed them, and the new family that was forming were a silent reminder that there is always a second chance. And when the silence of the night returned to dominate the house, only the soft sound of the kittens nursing broke the stillness. Mariana and Lucas looked at each other, and in that glance was the certainty that nothing would ever be the same again. Now there was more life, more affection, and more reasons to believe. Thor, Luna, and the two little ones showed, without words, that even when everything seems lost, there is always a new dawn waiting to be born. And for those who believe in the power of love, no story ever ends. It simply begins again. The story of Thor and Luna reminds us of something greater than themselves. These two little survivors, who once knew abandonment, now teach us about resilience and second chances. But out there are thousands of Thors and Lunas, waiting for someone to extend a hand and forever change the course of their lives. And this is where you come in. Responsible adoption is an act of love capable of transforming destinies, not only the destiny of an animal, but yours as well. Every life saved carries with it a new story, a new beginning, a new chapter filled with meaning. If the story of Thor and Luna touched your heart, share this message. Help spread hope. Inspire someone to open the doors of their home and give a new chance to someone who only needs an opportunity to be loved. Because in the end, it is not only about rescuing animals, it is about rescuing lives. It is about believing that every gesture matters, that every life is worth it, and that love always finds a way.